Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's 8 p.m. It's a weekday, and these glasses only just about cover how tired I actually feel. But we have an awesome chat coming up with Mike Palmer tonight. So stick around; it's going to be a good one and full of energy. So that will always be helpful, right? If you're new to the show, then welcome. We're here Monday to Friday, 8 till 9, sometimes over, but not at the moment because the homeschool has put that to bed. But yeah, we are here talking gardening and having a general good old chuckle. Well, I do. If I can. If you're enjoying the show, or if you like the show, give it a good old thumbs up, give it a share, kick the bell to make sure you know that I'm about every weekday, 8 p.m. Facilia. Or Pacilia, if you just read it off there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on.
Oh, I can't hear you, Anon. I've done something wrong with the thing. Anyway, elephant poo is what I got.
Good evening, Lee. How are you?
Great, mate. Your signal is always terrible, but I'm good, my friend. Excuse me. You got an allotment? When I go, don't put artificial grass on top of me, alright?
Are you going to get composted, Lee?
Yeah, Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the show. I hope you're feeling good. I'm singing because I'm tired, and I think that will help me out. We are live tonight. We've got Mike Palmer. I cannot wait for this interview. Maybe, I can't even remember when it was. Maybe it was last. Mike will be able to tell me. If you know Mike, it's Mike the Gardener. Who's got a brand new podcast out, which is actually pretty decent, everyone. Some great chats. You might know him from Instagram as well, under Mike the Gardener. But we've got it coming up in about 5 minutes, hopefully. He'll turn up very soon. To find out a little bit more about him and have a good old chinwag tonight. If you've got any questions, then whoa! It's time to party, says Richard Suggett in the comments. All right, mate. Chill out. It's a Tuesday. Hello, Lisa. Good evening to you. Hello, Ruth. Hope you're well. Let me know if you're about in the comments, everyone. Thanks so much to everyone, right, for yesterday. I feel really tired this week. I've got to tell you, I feel really tired. Don't know why. I do. And a good mood Monday. I don't know how good I felt yesterday, but everyone that called in and everyone that got involved. There we go. Positivity. Where's the positivity bell? Why can't I never find it? It's always in the same place. Positivity, everyone. That's what we're here for. You cheered me up yesterday, team. So thanks very much to everyone that called in. It was cool. I say we've got Mike today. Tomorrow, we've got a classic ground force coming up. Classic ground force. I've not watched it yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be good. Check that out from 8 p.m. And then the penultimate. That feels good. The penultimate, what's it called? Home gardening, homeschool on Thursday. So the kids go back on the 8th of March. Everyone, the 8th of March. We have had. Hello, Kirsty. How are you doing? We have had have we had a good day of? We have had we have had a good day of homeschool today, everyone. Right? It feels like it's taken over the start of my week, the homeschool vibe. That was good. We then went out on a bike ride, which I can only explain as a mistake. It went well. It began well. Then she got a flat tire, and then it went literally downhill from there. So that was an interesting one. We ain't been out in the garden. I thought the other day, right? I was on Richard Suggett's show on Sunday. He goes, "You been out too much in the garden recently?" And I was like, "Nope, I just haven't. I've just not been out in it. I don't know why. I just feel like I've got no time at the moment, team. No time. But you have to have a little break now and again, didn't you? You have to have a little bit of a break. But bring back the positivity for sure, Mr. Suggs. Like I say, one man that's going to bring back the positivity is Mike Palmer, everyone, who we have got coming up on tonight's show. In fact, he's just saved by the absolute bell because I would have to ramble on for about 10 minutes. Here he is. There he is.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good, thank you very much.
Yeah,
It's hot in here. I've chosen the hottest room of the house.
Well, I've chose the coldest room in the house as a bed. So there you go. I don't know.
What can you do?
Mike, I am trying to feel positive this week. I'm trying to get the buzz back, but I know that you are a very positive, outgoing, and charming young man.
Oh, I like the young bit. I'll take that. I'll take the positive bit as well. I am generally. I mean, we've all had sort of bad times during the last year, haven't we? It's been difficult.
It's been a weird one, isn't it?
Oh, it's just sort of like, and you try and keep going. And I have to say, sort of like the garden has been fantastic, but lockdown 3 has just been so different because it's been winter, it's dark, it's cold, it's wet. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough at times.
Not quite felt the same, this one, is it?
No, and I think sort of like when we first went into the first lockdown, it was the 23rd of March. It was spring, and pretty much all the way through into September, October time, the weather was okay.
Yeah, it felt
and
wicked.
It just made it sort of like bearable. It was not easy. It wasn't easy, but it was bearable. But yeah, sort of like October onwards.
Oh, help me. Help me now, Mike. Now. Mike, we only really met last year, and I don't really know if you were on social before last year. Can you?
I was on. I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. I never really sort of, you're liking posts and people are liking your posts, and you just start to think, well, what's it all about? So it was a bit of a love-hate relationship. I did Instagram, I did a little bit of Twitter, and a little bit of Facebook. And then when we came to lockdown, the first one, I saw somewhere on social media, actually it was Instagram, I saw 2 guys from the Great British Bake Off. They were 2 of the runners-up, and they were doing this live Instagram thing. And it was like car crash TV. It was appallingly bad, but there was something really compelling about it. I just couldn't help but watch. And there were like 400 people watching this. And all they were doing is they were making a cake. And yeah, but I did think, I think I can do that. And then probably about 2 weeks later, we went into lockdown. And then I saw someone else on social media saying, garden's going to be closed. Share your gardens on social media. # share your garden. Yeah. And so the Bake Off thing on Instagram, this share your garden, there's sort of like 2 were buzzing around my head all week. And I thought, I want to do this live Instagram thing. And I kept putting it off. And then it got to the Friday. And I thought, just press the button and do it. And I did. Friday, the 27th of March, I pressed the button on Instagram, went live. 6 people stumbled across me by mistake. I was on for about 15 minutes, camera pointed firmly at the garden. I came off and I thought, that was okay. I was really surprised that there was anybody there. And then the next week I thought, I'll do it again. And here we are, sort of like 45, 46 weeks later. And I've done it every week, apart from 2 weeks over Christmas when I took a break.
Take a break.
But yeah, sort of like suddenly I became this sort of like social media animal.
I like it. How have you found it? How have you found the social media world? Because I feel like it's sometimes, like you said, it's a love-hate relationship. I have exactly the same feeling. What's your vibe report from it, mate?
It's sort of like I have to say, gardeners are the best bunch of people anyway. I've always said that, even before sort of like the social media thing. They're really generous with their time and their knowledge. And coming onto social media, obviously being a gardener, it was gardeners and designers who were sort of like I was following and they were following back. So yeah, by and large, it's been pretty good. But there's always somebody that will sort of like just ruin the party, but you just get rid of them. You just block them, and I always think if you put yourself in this situation, if you put yourself in front of people, there's going to be somebody that's going to say something that you probably wouldn't want them to say, but just block them. It's sort of water off a duck's back, really. I think you have to be, if you're going to be in it, you've got to play the game.
I know what you mean, mate. I've got a guy called Ian Beddoes that watches every night, and I've been trying to get rid of him for ages. But I need the viewers, so yeah.
If he's on tonight, I take it.
Oh, he's always about. Before all this, obviously, you weren't some sort of Instagram, like you say, animal. You were. This is the thing. So before I come across your stuff, I didn't really know any much about your background. I'd love to hear more about it, mate. There's a lot to talk about before lockdown started. How did you get into gardens to begin with?
I was probably 6 or 7 years old. My parents were gardeners. They used to love, I mean, we're going back to the 1960s, 70s. My parents had a garden. They loved roses. And I remember the first garden that we had as a family, it was roses all around the main part of the garden. And then at the back, opposite the shed, there was a 2 by 3 meter square plot of land that just was doing nothing. And I remember saying to my parents, can I make a garden in this little bit of wasteland land? I mean, it's like a box almost. It was so small. But I wanted to make a garden. And I did. I put grass seed down, I put bulbs in, I put plants in. So that was 6, 7 years old. I made my first garden. And yeah, it's just, I mean, when did you make your first garden?
26, mate. I really, every time I talk to someone on here, it's like, oh yeah, I started when I was young, and I never did any garden when I was younger. So I come like 26, rocking into gardening, not really knowing anything. So I get really jealous of people like you, mate, that especially like he's managed to pretty much design their own garden at 7 years old.
Well, I just put some grass down. It wasn't really a design.
That's all it is, mate, right?
Yeah, I designed a garden. I was 6 years old. And then the next thing, they asked me to go to the Chelsea Flower Show, and I was 8.
Yeah. Exactly. What was the progression? Was it? That weren't the progression.
It certainly wasn't. No. Well, to be fair, I sort of like had this sort of flying start, and then you go through your teenage years. It wasn't cool to be sort of like gardening. I was gardening at home with my parents until I left home, and then I got my first house, and then I had my first garden of my own, and it was, well, I need to do something here. But there was the work thing. I worked in an office, so it was busy, it was pressurized, but the garden was still a release. And I still enjoyed doing it. And then I thought, actually, I'd like to learn more. So I started reading and learning more about plants, and then eventually got myself to Horticultural College, Kingston Moorwood in Dorchester. Did that in evening sort of school, really, and weekends. And a lot of it I self-taught myself, because it was a long way to go from where I live. And yeah, the next thing was I got to sort of like RHS level 3. Yeah, and it was difficult because I'd been out of school for a few years, so getting back into the learning thing was difficult initially. Yeah, but I guess because you've got that passion, you want to learn about it. And yeah, I loved every single minute of it. Wow. But I was the only one on the course who wasn't already in horticulture. They were all sort of like gardeners, designers, landscapers. And there was me poodling along, coming from an office background.
Do you find that you were a bit more inquisitive than other people because of that?
Possibly. I really did have a hunger to learn. And my first tutor was a guy, do you know David Hurrian?
Yeah, he was your tutor.
He was my tutor.
No,
and what? I remember, because the course was actually booked up. When I first inquired about it, they said, we've started, we're 2 weeks in, there's nowhere sort of like left on the course. I said, I'll sit on the floor. Please, please, please let me do this course. And I banged on so much that this woman, in the end, she just said, fine, you can go. And I rocked up, and it was David Hurrian, who I didn't know at that point. Yeah. And he was just fantastic. I had a knowledge to learn, and he was just the best tutor. He really was. And that just fired my enthusiasm even more.
Like, he's a legend.
He is. I think he's the associate editor of Gardener's World magazine now, and does a lot of their sort of like Gardener's World how-to videos for the magazine. And yeah, he is. He's a legend. I was so lucky to have sort of like had him as my first tutor.
How many years? So, excuse my I don't know what the word is, but I don't really know how long it takes to complete these RHS levels.
I think I did mine in about 4.5 years, possibly 5.
Wowza. It's not.
I don't
know if that bad, or it's quite a lot of investment in something that at the time was not your main job.
Yeah, it was. And what I was actually doing is in my lunch hours, I was going down, rather than having lunch, I was sat in one of the meeting rooms, genning up on my plant names. And yeah, it was a hard slog. Yeah. But I wanted to do it. So
where how did you progress from there onto gardening?
I was the only one on the course who wasn't in gardening. So when I got the level 3, I just went back to my boss and I said, I want to leave. And they didn't want me to leave. And I was lucky. They didn't want me to leave. So we reached this compromise. I would work mornings. I worked 8 till 1:30 in the office. And in the afternoon, I'd go out gardening and designing.
What was your job?
I was a trainer. I was a management trainer.
Really?
Yeah. And I look back on that now. And if you had said to any of my friends, family, or work colleagues at that time, this guy will go out gardening, they would have all shook their heads and said, there's no way. And now I look back and think, if somebody said to me, go and work in an office, there's no way. I just couldn't do it. I don't know how I did it for as many years as I did. And that was it. I went part-time. I sort of gardened and designed in the afternoons. But the rot set in. Yeah. As soon as I was doing the gardening, in the morning when I was in the office, I was writing out planting lists for people and doing designs on the back of a piece of paper and hoping no one was a...
Did you start up yourself?
Yeah.
Or did you have someone else? Oh, you started up yourself.
Yeah,
well,
I started up on my own, yeah.
That's quite a big jump.
Yeah, it's scary because you go from the comfort of having a paid income to having to go out and earn money yourself. And of course, on a rainy day, there's no income, there's no money coming in. So yeah, completely different sort of way of thinking, different way of working. But I was so happy from the moment I walked out the office at sort of 1:30. It was like, it was just so easy.
Yeah, I feel like I know that feeling because I used to be an electrician back in the day, and I did exactly that. I went part-time, and the days that I knew that I was, so the last day of my electrical work and then the next day I was going to go and do gardening stuff, it's like excited. So I know I feel that feeling.
Yeah, and I think I knew I was in the right place after all those years of being cosseted in an office and having to do the suit thing, and I used to get changed when I finished my sort of like morning shift. I'd go into the loo, get changed into my gardening gear and nip down the back stairs and hope I didn't bump into anybody. And if I did bump into somebody, it was like, oh my God, what are you wearing? And people just don't like seeing somebody out of their usual get-up. So it was, but I was as happy as Larry. As soon as I got my gardening gear on, I was off.
Like a gardening Superman. You walk into the toilet and come back.
Yeah, it was. It really was. It was bizarre.
At what point did you decide to go full-time then?
I was made redundant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 8 years after I went part-time, I went into the office one morning and there was lots of whispering going on. And my boss came away from a meeting. I could see in his face something serious was up. Yeah. And I got on really well with him. He took me to one side and said, it's the end, it's over. And I was like, yes.
Oh, you were good about it.
But of course, I had sort of like colleagues who I worked with who, for them, it was not going to be a good thing. So I had to sort of sit there and bite my tongue. And sure enough, at lunchtime, we were taken to a meeting and told that we were all being made redundant. And that for me was just like the best thing.
Yeah. And we obviously so you did 8 years part-time. Wow, man. That's a long time part-time doing gardening.
Yeah, it was. And as I say, the rot set in as soon as I went part-time. I knew that I didn't want to be in an office anymore. Actually, it might not have been 8 years. It must have been less than that. It must have been. But yeah, that's how it happened.
And so did you do a lot of design work then? Like,
yeah,
where did that done?
Before that, I'd gone to art college and I did illustration and graphic design. So the two disciplines, sort of the gardening and the graphic design, sort of came together. And I did design on the RHS course as a module. And yeah, I just seemed to have a bit of I won't say a flair, but I could design. I could design a garden and put plants together. So that's where the design came from.
When you went full time, like, what happened from there? Like,
what, full time with the gardening?
Yeah.
Well, because I was part time. You know how sort of like you do a job, you get people who referrals, and I was having to turn work away because I was only working 4 to 5 hours in the afternoon. But I was working. Then I started working weekends. Then when the design work started to come in, I was doing that in the evenings. So it was really sort of full on work. So then when I did go full time with the gardening, I was quickly able to absorb the work that I'd been doing in the evenings and at the weekends to make it a full time job.
Just slightly more relaxed.
Yeah, it did mean that I didn't have to be working at silly o'clock designing a garden and then sort of like waking up the next morning, go to work for sort of like 4.5, 5 hours, then go out gardening, then go designing again. It did give me a little bit of a life back.
Yeah. Now, mate, I looked up about you on your website, and not
there's not much there.
Not as detailed as you ever would. It says, right? It says you used to be Carol Klein's gardener.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's again, that was through David. When David's still working for Gardeners World magazine, and he knew that I was a massive fan of Carol's, and I kept sort of saying, can I come down one day and sort of like just hold the camera bags or something, or just do the admin or do the running around making coffees? And he kept saying, I'll see what I can do, and that never happened. Then one day he phoned and said, Carol's looking for a gardener, would you be interested? Of course I would be. And it didn't happen. And I was so disappointed. And then the following year, the same conversation came around again. David phoned about sort of February time. Carol was looking for a garden. I went, yeah, okay. And he said, yeah, she's going to call you. Yeah, okay. And this one day, my phone kept ringing. And every time I picked it up, there was nobody there. Oh, that's really strange. Didn't think anything of it until I got home in the evening and the phone rang again. And it was Carol Klein on the phone. And you just know it's Carol Klein, don't you? The voice is just so distinctive. And I'm like... And she just said she needed some help in the garden. She was very sort of careful about what she was committing to. Would you like to come down for a couple of days and see how we get on? And I mean, it's a 3-hour trip from where I am here in Bournemouth down to Carol's, literally 3 hours. I left at 6 a.m, got there at the stroke of 9. And the first day that I got there, she was doing a photo shoot for Gardeners World magazine. Right. So her husband met me, took me into the cottage, and it's just really bizarre. And the photographer, I don't know if you know Jason Ingram.
Yeah.
He's the photographer, and I knew him. It's like, oh, hello there, what are you doing here? And then all of a sudden you can hear her voice. She comes down the stairs. She's all made up. And it's just like, oh, this is surreal. It really was. And so she set me to work, and then they got on with their photo shoot. And I spent the first day just gardening and just looking around like, oh, my goodness me, it's like some crazy dream. And then I stayed the night, sat in there, had a meal with them both. And then the next morning, she came out and she was Carol at home. So different to the Carol you see on the TV sort of in terms of appearance. And I couldn't remember a single plant name when she came out. I just went completely like, ugh. She's looking at Verbena bonariensis, and I'm like,
I love that.
But of course, you get your mojo back, and she was just absolutely wonderful. She really was. It was just such a fantastic experience. Yeah, I stayed in a caravan. They had this little caravan to the side of the garden. But of course, when you turn up, I knew the garden from the books and the TV, and when you sort of like turned up in my van and went down, it's like, oh my God, this is Carol Klein's garden, the garden I've seen on TV and seen in all these books that I love.
That is such bizarre thing to happen from watching someone on telly for so long and then end up being the actual gardener. Yeah,
and sort of like where I'd said to David, can I just come down and hold the camera bags, to actually be there gardening. And I'd maybe do 2 or 3 days at a time, come back home and go down sort of like every 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome, man. Have you, Mike, have you ever done any show gardens before?
Any
show gardens?
No, I haven't.
Would you like to?
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to have a go at doing that. I really would. That would just be a fantastic sort of opportunity. I've got that sort of design sort of flair and the planting and that. Yeah.
What sort of shows do you enjoy visiting?
I do Chelsea, Hampton Court. We have a show locally, the New Forest show.
Right.
Yeah, it'd probably be good for me to sort of like cut my teeth with a local show and a smaller garden. But yeah, I'd definitely be up for the challenge. Have you done one?
Oh, I don't like talking about it.
Yeah, go on. Come on, tell us all about it.
I don't know. I've designed gardens in Japan. I've designed gardens in London. That's about it. But
have you really done Japan?
Yeah, we did. When I first started gardening randomly, I did a show garden at the International Flower Show.
Okay.
In Nagasaki.
Yeah. So when was that?
Quite a few years ago, mate. 2015, I think it was 2015, because my daughter was just been born. I was like, I'm off to Japan. See you later.
So how long were you out there for?
Oh, I went. Right, it's such a weird. I don't really like talking about it. I do really. It's about you really tonight.
No. I'm in my comfort zone now, asking you the questions.
Quick story, right? Basically, we designed a garden. We were going over there. We designed a garden. It was all about Britain, but we had a team over there that was given to us in a weird, strange way, and they were building it, right? So over about 3 weeks, every single day, I was getting photos back of this garden being built, and they're saying, "Is this all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And then we went over for like a week. We rocked up there, and basically we planted a few plants, signed stuff off, and that was it. It was so actually, that's a lie. We didn't plant any plants. We rocked up there, went to go and get our hands messy, and they were lovely people. Don't get me wrong, they're lovely people over there. But they're like, no, you don't touch plants. We'll do it for you. So me and my brother just stood there and pointed where we wanted plants.
Wow, that's the way to do it.
Bizarre experience. But
you imagine me rocking up at the Chelsea Flower Show doing the Chelsea Garden. Where's my staff to put the plants in?
Well, that's it. That's why I'll never do a Chelsea Flower Show, just because you can't get the staff over here.
You don't want dirty hands, do you?
Yeah. Did you used to obviously before last year? Did you used to visit a lot of shows, or was it just really Hampton and Chelsea?
It was just really Hampton and sort of Chelsea. Anything north of Ringwood, it's too far for me to go.
Yeah.
London's sort of like an expedition.
Yeah. You're not that
sort of
far,
like I know. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I used to do the NEC as well, Birmingham Gardeners World Live.
Oh, it's a good little show. That was good little. It's not little, is it?
Well,
But
it's
a good
massive,
show,
isn't it? Yeah.
Did you just used to visit there, or did you do anything else there?
No. Again, good old Mr. Hurrian phoned up a few years ago and said, "Would you like to come and give me a hand at Gardeners World Live?" And I didn't. I just said yes. I didn't have a clue what I was going to be doing, and it was just like building the Gardeners World Live stage and the set that they use. And so I did that a couple of times. Just, God, I tell you what, you work. I remember the end of the first day. I was just like a zombie. I was the Walking Dead, walking. But you keep going because it's just a fantastic experience.
Yeah, one of the things that I've realised doing gardening, so, and you may feel this as well, although I don't know how much you loved your job beforehand, but getting up in the morning and doing my old job, I was like, oh, but getting up in the morning, and I mean, not through this lockdown, it's a nightmare with homeschooling, I'll be honest with you, Mike, but before the world of homeschooling, I used to get up in the morning and have so much energy because I was doing something that I loved and had passion for. Do you find that?
Yeah, definitely. It's just so easy. I mean, I used to get up, say, 5 o'clock to go to Carol's. It wasn't a problem. I would work as many hours as was needed. There were some days when, on the day I was coming home from Carol's, I would maybe leave the garden at 7, having been up at 6. Drive home for 3 hours. It wasn't a problem. It's because you love doing it.
So you get that energy boost from somewhere just to make sure you.
Yeah, it just keeps you. I don't know where you get it from, but it's there, isn't it? It's
yeah. You've recently waltzed into the work. Literally waltzed after seeing your dancing the other day on Instagram. quite a dancer, mate.
That's not my fault. I am blaming someone else for that.
Okay.
Somebody sent me a note, or sent a note out on social media to say that I'd be putting a bit of sunshine in people's lives with my 10 o'clock live on a Sunday morning. And I just found myself getting my sunglasses out, getting a knotted handkerchief. I haven't got a knotted handkerchief. I knotted up a handkerchief and got the sun cream out and just found myself pressing the button at 10 o'clock and jigging along to Katrina and the Waves, walking on sunshine and making a complete arse of myself.
Well, what a way to start a Sunday, mate. That's the best
but strangely
thing.
enough, I mean, to be fair, a lady joined me on that Sunday, Sheila. She's probably watching, and she was fantastic. She contacted me about her garden. What can I do about this back border? And I said, well, come and have a chat with me on the Sunday. So, but it's the most viewed Sunday live that I've done in 45 weeks.
So what you're saying, we're expecting to see more dancing over the next.
Yeah, you wait till this Sunday. I've got a trick up my sleeves.
What I was going to say was you've waltzed into the whole the world of podcasts this year, man.
I have, and whose fault was that?
Might have been mine.
It was absolutely. I said you said to me, I think after our live, you said something about podcasting. You ought to do it. Yeah. And I thought, I'd gone through this steep learning curve with Instagram and it's like doing the lives and that. I thought, oh God, do I really want to do that? And I'd listened to your podcast. I thought, actually, yeah, no, it'd be really good to do that. So yeah, thank you, Lee. It's completely down to you that I've done that.
That's the nicest way anyone said. If that idiot can do it, then.
Well, whatever. I have got you to thank for that, and you are so good at doing this. And just to sort of like to have you say, "Why don't you give it a go?" I was well chuffed, and yeah, it took me a little while to get my act together because it's just like, how do you start? Who do you speak to? But I was really lucky that a girl who I've known for years was a sound producer. And she worked, I know, and she works for a local sort of university, and she was made redundant, sadly, in September. And she just said, I'll help you. So Jo Tyler's just been fantastic. She's guided me through. She was obviously doing the stuff behind the scenes to start with. But the fifth one, which I'm just editing now, I'm pretty much doing it myself. So thank you, Lee. It was the kick up the backside I needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I do. I mean, Joe did the hard work by sounds, but I just said, yeah, do it.
Yeah, but it was more than that. It was like you actually sort of said, I think you'd be good at doing this. So so I have.
Yeah, well, you put the work into these interviews, man. Like you proper, like I look at your website and then we just, but you like put proper research and stuff into it.
Yeah, I think so. Was the first time you saw me when I interviewed Lucy Starch? She grows veg.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and
because I remember when you're doing those, I hardly ever look at the comments because you're so busy concentrating on what the people are saying. But I saw something that you had written came up, sort of like, "Oh, you're like a detective."
Yeah, that's
and then the very next day, just by coincidence, I was out walking a friend's dog. And you were on doing a live yourself. And I think you must have said, "Oh, hi." And I sort of said, "Oh, come and have a chat." And of course you did. And I did a little bit of homework, but I do like to try and find out as much as I can about the people, because maybe it's probably the same for you. How many of the people who you talk to have you actually met? You've probably met quite a few of them, haven't you?
I mean, there was quite a few that I've met, and there's also quite a few I've not. The reason I like doing this, and I mean, I just like finding out about people, man. I like to find out people's stories, and very much like yourself. But you're really good at it. Like the research you put into it, I think is amazing.
Well, I suppose there's two schools of thought. I guess you don't have to do any research because by asking questions, you're going to find out. But I suppose because I don't know any of the people who I've interviewed. Well, a couple maybe I do. I want to try and get to know them as best as I possibly can beforehand. I'll try and see if there's a video of them talking or a podcast, just to see how chatty they are and how many questions you need to have ready. Because the worst thing must be when you get somebody that just doesn't talk and you're there like, what am I going to say?
I'll generally start talking about myself then, you'll know. Then we got the long answer for the Japan chat.
But I remember sort of like I spoke to Matt Biggs, and Matt, you can just ask one question, and sort of like Matt's absolutely so lovely. He was just, we did two chats.
Yeah.
We did one on the Friday and one on the Monday because we sort of like, we got cut off after about an hour, and there was so much more that Matt wanted to talk about and so much that I wanted to ask him. So he said, "Oh, should we do another one on Monday?" And it's like, yeah, brilliant.
He's brilliant, Matt. I love it.
Yeah.
We had everyone for the second time last year, and we started talking about all pirate gardeners and all sorts of things. He can wind Matt up, and away he goes.
Yeah, but he's just so lovely. He was, and again, I haven't really met, apart from Jason Ingram and Ellen Mary, who I bumped into a garden media event this time last year. I've not actually met anybody who I've spoken to. But it's what a privilege. I've really so enjoyed sort of like this last year.
It's interesting you say that though, because a lot of people I mention you to obviously know you now through like probably through Instagram and all them sorts of things and the podcast and that. So it's interesting that, I mean, when all the shows come back, mate, everyone will we all know each other. Everyone spoke to each other now on the podcasts.
Yeah, and that's sort of like, you can't wait for that to sort of like come back, sort of like be able to go to a show, because I've been really lucky. Everybody sort of like has contacted me afterwards to say thank you and sort of be nice to catch up. And Matt sort of like, "Oh, we must go for a drink," and we've not been able to. So I'm really looking forward to the first show whenever it is. It'll just be lovely to be out there and say hello to a few people.
It's going to be fun, man. Well, who have you had? I've listened to your podcast now. I can't remember who I listened to, but I texted you and said I enjoyed it. You had Tamsin on first, right?
Tamsin was the first one, in at the deep end with the queen of podcasting.
Sure.
Then Leah Landers, the author of the Almanac, Simon Lysett, and I've just spoken to Katie Rushworth from Love Your Garden.
Wicked, man. Well,
and we had such a laugh. We really had a laugh. So I'm really looking forward. I've done the editing on that. I've just got a couple of bits and pieces to finish on that one. So I think it's 5th of March. We're going to What do you say with your podcast? Do you release it? Do you publish it? Do you drop it? What's the terminology?
I just say, hey guys. Podcast
It doesn't seem right saying I've just dropped one.
No. No, it doesn't mean that. But what do I say? I don't know. I just say it's uploaded. It's uploaded, man. How often do your podcasts come out? What's the
It's a loose sort of 3 or 4 weeks. The first one I did on the 23rd of December, and I've done 4, and the 5th one sort of at the beginning of March. So
wicked, man. I like the name as well, Mike the Gardener. It's very
somebody.
It's cool. Yeah, but Mike. Yeah,
it's Mike with an M-I-C rather than M-I-K-E.
Liked it.
Because somebody actually said to me, "You spelled your name wrong on that," and it's like,
come on.
The picture of the microphone.
Have a day off. Oh, Mike.
But it's great. I love doing them.
What's the future, man? What's coming up for you? What's it look like?
I don't know really, Lee. That's the honest truth of it. I will continue doing the lives on a Sunday. I've got a load more chats lined up for Instagram. I've got a load more chats lined up for the podcast. I sort of suspect when we're out of the COVID, the lockdown situation, I suspect people will want to be out and about with friends, family, and loved ones. And I sort of think for a while, Instagram might take a bit of a hit.
Yeah.
I don't think people will be wanting to sit in on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, certainly not in the summer, listening to a chat. And in the summer, will they be wanting to do sort of 10 o'clock, watching me sort of waltz around the garden? Probably not. So
you never know, mate. I mean, I'm here 5 nights a week. I hope someone will be about.
But it'll be you and I.
That's it. Yeah, just 2 people.
I guess you just sort of. I haven't really thought too much about it. Is the honest answer, but at the back of my mind, thinking that when this is over, all everybody wants to do is go out and socialise and be with friends and family. So I'll still be doing the podcast, and I will still do the lives. It will just be you watching me and me watching you.
That's fine, mate. That's all that matters, isn't it? Have you spent? Obviously, you spent a lot more time in the garden over the past year. Has it progressed much, or did you already have it to its peak before lockdown?
Well, I've only been here. It's a new garden. I've only been here 3.5, 4 years. 3 years. So it's a new garden. But I guess doing the lives, you want to sort of like show people the best possible garden that you can do. Yeah. And I find myself saying things on a Sunday, and then you have to follow it through. Because I don't want to be the one that said, I said I was going to do this, but actually I haven't. If I say I'm going to do it. And now, because I know I will follow it through, I will say things that I probably would have shelved before to force myself to do it. So yeah, the garden sort of like has got progressively better. And this year, for as long as we're able to do them, I want it to be even better than it was last year. So there is that pressure of trying to outdo what you did last year, which we all do as gardeners anyway, I guess. You must do the same with your garden, don't you?
I do. I've made a big mistake this year of, for the past 7, however many years I've been doing this, constantly doing a big winter project. And which has kept me really busy. And I said to myself last year, even though we had lockdown and everything, so I got a lot done with the garden, I got it to peak. Well, I thought peak. I said to myself, I'm not going to go into Christmas this year doing a project, because what happens is it always runs over. I'm always building something, probably a castle or something for my daughter. I don't know what it would have been this time. And then it comes into February. I'm still building it. And then I want to start growing my seeds. And I'll run out of time. So I said I wouldn't do it this year. And what I've realised is actually it's quite important that Lee has a project to do. We'll learn a lesson.
So how long have you been in your garden then?
I've been here for 6 years, 7 years now. So quite a long time. But it's one of them. We didn't have Olive, my daughter. She's 5, coming on 6 now. So maybe we've been there 7 years. So I designed the garden as an adult garden,
Yeah.
And then when you have a little kid running around, you realise that they like to put bits of bark and slate in their mouths and throw them around, and then everything has to change. So it's changed. I didn't realise I was going to have a castle at the end of my garden 7 years ago.
But I bet you love having a castle there, don't you, really?
Oh, I do like it, probably more than Olive does.
That's the truth of all of these projects, isn't it? You do it for the kids, but it's like, oh, actually, this would be really good.
Yeah, sure. Usually I'm like, I've built this for you, Olive. Don't touch it. It's mine.
Yeah, can I go in the castle, Daddy? No.
Yeah,
Stay away from the castle.
that's right. So yeah, man, it's just strange, isn't it? It's weird. I mean, you obviously do garden design for people.
Yeah.
You think gardening TV makes people think that gardens can happen like instantly? Because one of the things I keep trying to chuck out there a lot is that it takes years and years. Like I know my mum and dad's garden. I always, when I moved to my house, I said I want my garden to look like amazing, like my dad's. But what I didn't realise is it actually took my dad like over 10 years to build his garden up to the point he's got it at.
Yeah.
You don't realise that, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they're sort of like when you first meet a client, you go through this process of explaining what the process is, how long it will take, what it will look like. You try and sort of like manage the expectations so that when the garden is first planted, they expect like these makeover Chelsea flower show type gardens. And of course, it's not going to be like that unless they have some ridiculous budget to throw at it, which invariably they don't, because when you start talking about the cost of planting, it's like, oh gosh, that's quite so yeah, managing expectations is I did a garden. One of the early gardens I did was for a friend of mine, and he just split up from his girlfriend and he wanted a garden for the lads. So he wanted sleepers, a barbecue, somewhere to put the drinks, and somewhere to lie out in the sun. So did this garden with the sleepers, the gravel, the barbecue, somewhere for the drinks. It was a real sort of man's garden. And then we started talking about the plants, some really structural plants like the phormiums, the fatsias, to give it a really sort of jungly sort of feel. And we started talking about the budget, and it's like, oh, I can't do that. That's far too much. I spent this much on the garden. I was like, but that will be the finishing touches. And he said, well, we'll come back and we'll do that in a few months' time. Yeah. Well, the guy who lived next door to him was the landscaper who built the garden. And he phoned me up one day and he said, your mate Pat is planting marigolds in the garden. No, he's not. You're winding me up. And he was. These great big sleepers, and there were lines of these military-spaced marigolds all around the garden. It was, and he invited me around. I said, Pat, what have you done? What's all this?
That'll do it.
It just sort of like it needed so much more, but it's like, again, expectations, budget.
Yeah, people don't. I think Tally doesn't realistically show that side of it. I don't think, because they're
not at all
incredible plants, and then when you actually go away and start totting it up for your own garden, even I know it. Like my garden, I wanted to put borders in with loads of big plants and stuff, and I can't afford to do it at the moment, mate. It's just you don't realise.
I think when you look at the cost of perennials and shrubs, and of course you want a bit of structure, maybe a sort of like a small tree or something. Yeah, it's a big moment when you sort of talk about the cost of the planting. But I always try and have that conversation very, very early on. Yeah. Because there's no point, you lead people down building the garden and then you talk about the cost of plants. And it's like, so yes, like from experience, I know that needs to be brought in really, really early.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm pretty sure do you reckon it's going to be a busy year for you? Because I feel like a garden in the world full stop is going to be more busy now. I feel like we've got more gardeners on board since last year. I
think what I'm trying to do is, well, back in August last year, I joined the Garden Media Guild because I wanted to write. I like writing. That hasn't happened because of what's happened with social media. But I want to try and take some time to concentrate on that as well. and going back to the point earlier, where's it going to go? I really haven't got a clue. It might not go anywhere, but I've had an absolute ball doing what I've done.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, try and have some time for me to do my own stuff, as well as sort of like getting out and gardening for myself and others.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well,
So you do this full time, don't you?
I'm a full-time talker, mate. I'm a full-time baller. Yeah, I do. So I always get asked a lot. I was like, "Oh, do you do gardens?" I'm like, "Well, I do my own garden, and that's about it. I do like the odd show garden stuff, and bits like that, and I do a lot of children's garden and stuff, which is a big this year. I'm bringing that back this year. So yeah. I just love gardening with my daughter is the main thing, and very lucky for me when I got into this gardening world, I was thrown into children's gardening, and then my daughter come along, and it's like, yes. Now
so
I get
does
it.
Olive like gardening? Does she like being out there?
No, she hates it, but I force her. No, she loves it. Like she does love it. I mean, there's a balance. Like the older she gets, like she used to be always, Daddy, let's go gardening.
Yeah.
Now it's like, yeah, we can do it, but can I just leave it for another week afterwards so we don't have to do it every single day, Dad?
Right. Yeah.
So you've got to get a balance now. But I just, and school gardening is my thing, man. Like I feel like I said to you, I got into gardening when I was 26, and I never gardened before that. And
so what about so what's on the agenda for you this year then? What can we expect from Skinny Jean Gardener?
Do you know what? More of this and the school plan, which we talked about this school plan thing on this show back in September, and I started talking about it, and it's progressed so much. Like last week, I actually managed to get out of my road because I feel like I've not left the road recently, and we started filming for this school plan that is coming out. It's a pre-order from 8th of March, mate, but then September. The school plan will go into hopefully some schools, and then by 2025 we want to have a school gardening success plan in every primary school in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's excellent.
And that's just all it is. It's just a really simple way for children to learn how to grow their own veg, know where their veg comes from, and also support wildlife. And the idea is they will get them learning at school, and then they'll go back and teach their parents what to do. That's the idea.
Wow, that's excellent. It's a big project.
Yeah, it is, man. It's a proper passion project of mine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, so it's a busy year, mate. But it's going to be fun. And same for you, I would have expected. And I think the podcast is going to be wicked. Like I listened to some of them, and they're really easy listening. Like I love them. So
thank you.
And obviously the dancing on Insta.
Well, if the gardening gig doesn't work out, maybe Strictly will come calling.
There you go, mate. Or right, I love singing. Right, so I could be a singer. You could be a backing dancer. Band.
I think I'd be a better singer than I would backing dancer after sort of Sunday's exploits. That was yeah.
I mean, frontman the position has been taken, so I can't really.
So what sort of music? What sort of music do you like singing?
Oh, anything, mate, that takes my fancy.
Well,
singer, songwriter, all that, mate.
Brilliant. I shall listen out for you.
Listen out for it, mate. I'm sure it'll be out there somewhere. Dude, thanks so much. I cannot believe we've almost chatted for a whole hour.
I know. I have to see. Yeah, it's been a pleasure,
dude. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for asking me. You must come and have a chat with me.
Yeah, let's make it happen, dude. I've got lots to talk about, as you can see. But yeah, I really appreciate it, man. And yeah, we'll see you soon. But go listen to Mike the Gardener podcast. Cheers,
Lee. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
See that, fella. I'll speak to you soon. Yeah.
Brilliant. Speak to you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Wow, everyone. Thanks so much to Mike for coming on the show. Wow. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I loved that chat tonight. I'm really getting into these chats. Last week, Lewis. This week, Mike. Next week, we've got an awesome chat coming up as well. Let's see. I know loads of you got involved in the comments. Let's try and pick out a few of them. Crikey, I know I didn't go through the comments tonight, so I should have maybe. Let's have a look. Alexandra says, "Hey, Mike and Lee, hello." Michael Perry in the house. Lisa, good evening to you. Looking cute there, Lee. Cheers, mate. I say again, positivity from Suggs. Anyone know? No, we don't get. Wendy's doing the RHS 1 and 2 at the moment, whilst on furlough from hospitality. Nice one, Wendy. Go for it. It's hard to say and stalk him. Suggs says he's in Bournemouth. Alexander's also saying, I'll help you with that, Mike. It's all good to be able to have this opportunity, but if you have a mortgage and a phone support, you can't automatically jack your paid job in order to make in the music and trumpet player. Nope. Jack, I hear ya. So it's a big jump, my friend. It's a big jump. Jules says he's got the moves. Sammy boy over on Twitch, how you doing? Lee, you're very good to get people into podcasts. just really good at getting people to compete against my job. Earlier I walked in from putting the rubbish out and heard my name. What were you saying? Oh, nothing, Beddoes. Nothing. I love that, guys. That dude cheered me up. Thanks so much, Mike, for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed that, dude. And hopefully I'll jump on Mike's podcast. I've got so much to chat about over the next, as you guys who watch regularly know, as you know, indeed. That was wicked, man. I feel really pumped after that. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks so much, everyone that commented tonight. Thanks to everyone getting involved. Tomorrow we are back once again. Probably talking about garden shows, the TV garden shows that show impossible stuff. Although we are going back to like the 90s with Ground Force, so there we go. We've got Ground Force Bingo coming up tomorrow, team. So from tonight until tomorrow night, get your free, that's right, free Ground Force Bingo words in. If you don't know what they are, either I forgot my usual ones. Oh, yes, it. Alan checks his watch. What's Tommy's mate called? Oh, Willie. Willie. Where's Willie? It's generally one of the ones we do. And what's the third one? Charlie puts a water feature in. That's usually my free. What are your free Ground Force-isms? Put them in the comments for tomorrow night's show, because we are going to be live from 8 p.m. Everyone. Well done, Mr. Jackson. We'll talk about that Thursday for sure, my friend. No adverts tonight, so lucky you guys. But there we go. Honestly, big up, Mike. Thanks so much. I shall see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Facilia. Or Pacilia, if you just read it off there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm on.
Oh, I can't hear you, Anon. I've done something wrong with the thing. Anyway, elephant poo is what I got.
Good evening, Lee. How are you?
Great, mate. Your signal is always terrible, but I'm good, my friend. Excuse me. You got an allotment? When I go, don't put artificial grass on top of me, all right?
You're going to get composted, Lee.
Hey, Advert Lee here. Enjoyed the show? Good. You can listen to the best of episodes on the podcast every Sunday. That's right, Lee uploads it every Sunday, the best of podcast. So get out of bed, grab yourself a cuppa and pop in the headphones, and you can listen to the best of the week. Or we have some absolute corkers. Go give it a listen. But from me, Advert Lee, and from Lee, see you next time. Bye-bye.
This is a Sunday Game of Gardener. Jackson.
Who said that?